Welcome to the Propreneur Podcast, where we help practice owners become better entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Dino Watt.
Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Caselle, and I've been a dentist for over 42 years. I graduated New York University College of Dentistry, went on and did a residency program at Forsythe Dental Center in Boston in Family Dentistry, and later opened my practice in Wilmington, Massachusetts, which is about 14 miles north of the city of Boston. It's a nice community. I've been there for 42 years. Over that time, I doubled the size of my practice, got into the digital world with CEREC in 2000, as well as digital x-rays. Then I looked at my practice and I said, how can I, increase the menu of services in my office? And so I incorporated laser dentistry in my practice. Later on, I incorporated orthodontics, Invisalign, 6-month smiles to help patients, especially adult patients, come into your office who want to have straighter, whiter teeth. And so I recently sold my practice, and now I'm out talking to dentists about practice management, laser dentistry, and how they can create a plan or a vision for the future and how they can become more successful. And of course, success is defined by every dentist, what they look at and see how they define success. It's different for each and one of us, depending what your goals in life are.
Absolutely.
So that's pretty much where I'm at.
Hey everybody, welcome once again to the Best Practices Podcast. I'm Dino Watt, your host, and excited to have you again today because today we don't just have an expert on the topic, but we have an expert who is a legend on the topic. This is Dr. Paul Caselle. And Paul, I'm excited to have you here all the way from Massachusetts joining us this morning. And, do a quick introduction of yourself and tell us how you got to be here, where you are right now, and what we're going to be doing today.
Okay, well, I'm located in the Boston area. I graduated from New York University College of Dentistry. And after I graduated, I did a 1-year residency program in Forsythe Dental Center in Boston. I opened my dental practice in Wilmington, Massachusetts, which is about 14 miles north of the city of Boston. And I've had a successful practice there for over 42 years, which I recently sold.
It's so weird, Paul, though, that I can't tell that you're from Boston at all. Like, I don't hear any of your accent at all. So I'm just kidding.
Well, it's pretty wicked. It's really wicked.
It's wicked. It's wicked. So my wife and I spent a lot of time traveling, and we actually took our kids on a big road trip in 2013 for 13 months. I love the Boston area. I love the accent. I love everything about it. So it's as soon as you started talking when we were doing the pre-show, I was like, oh, he's got my Boston accent. And my wife doesn't like it. Sorry, but my wife doesn't like it. Like, I love that accent. It's such a great accent. Maybe it's because it's one of the easier ones to do. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
Well, Paul, you're really big in technology. Like, you've actually been able to show people how to utilize technology to advance their practice some more. When did you start to recognize? Because I've just found that sometimes there are doctors who seem to be a little reluctant to use technology. Oh, this is the way we've always done it. Why fix it if it's not broken type idea. How did you get yourself into that idea? Or was this something you've always been able to do, was know that technology was such an important part of your business?
Well, after about practicing for the first 20 years, I realized that there had to be a better way. You take impressions. I had an awakening. I was taking impressions, and after the third attempt of getting a really great impression,
somebody.
I said, somehow, some way, there has to be a better way. Why can't I just take a picture and send it to somebody and let them make the crown for me?
Yeah.
Well, about 2 years later, that was around 2000, CEREC came into my office. And I said, wow, this is really neat. I was at the early stages of CEREC. They were just getting into crowns because I told the rep, once this can do crowns, I'm in. So I started off with a 2D design, which was very difficult. And finally, it morphed into a 3D situation to what it is today. And so I started in 2000. I said, wow, this is really great. And the impact I had in my office was amazing.
Yeah.
And I cut my lab fees by 60%.
Wow.
For the single units. So when my accountant looked at my P&L, he said, wow, how can your production be so high and your lab cost so low? the simple question or answer was CEREC technology. So around the same time, I jumped in with both feet. I got digital x-rays. And of course, they say, you really want to do digital x-rays and CEREC? Isn't that a lot of stuff to take on at one time? I said, no, I'm all in. And so that was another turning point, another inflection point in my growth process and my business.
And you just recently, you sold your business within last...
Correct. Yeah, I sold about a year ago.
About a year ago. And, you know, look, what I see more and more is I see a lot of doctors who have that teacher spirit, who have that desire to help people grow in their practice, not have that golden parachute, right? Oh, I finally got that retirement moment. I can finally get rid of all of this stress and frustration. And they're going and teaching other people, hey, not only what you can do, but don't do this. Don't make those mistakes over here that I made. Let me tell you that this is important over here. What was it about that opportunity, or what was it about you that made you think, hey, I'm not going to go and just live on a beach somewhere in Hawaii or Florida for the next 20 years. I want to actually teach this to other people. What was that?
Well, I just find I have the opportunity to talk to a lot of dentists as I do my training in laser dentistry across the country. You kind of see the struggle some of the dentists have. Now, some dentists think all I have to do is introduce technology to my office and I'll be successful. It's a little bit more than that.
I'll buy the thing and the thing will do the thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a CEREC or a laser, whatever it is. I've run in the office where people tend to collect technology.
Oh, sure.
And so I would ask, are you using that machine over there? Well, once in a while. Well, that's not going to cut it. I mean, you don't invest in capital equipment that have to sit in the corner. I mean, you have to make a commitment, one, to learn it, and two, to implement it.
And three, use it. Right?
Exactly. Right.
Like you say, implement it. I think it's funny. Sorry to cut you off of that. I just think it's so funny you're saying this, and I have this flashback. I was in a doctor's office, and she had this amazing x-ray machine, all this other stuff. And we had this huge conversation about why she's not utilizing it. And she's like, well, people aren't paying me my records fee. It's like, but it's still costing you money, whether they're paying you or not. So why not just use it so you can actually incorporate that into your cost, and then you're getting paid for it. And you're actually, it was just mind blowing to me to have this amazing tool and not use it. So I'm sure you see that all the time.
Well, I see that all the time because one of the questions I get when I train dentists on using lasers, can I charge extra for it? No, man, you don't charge extra for it. You're using the best tool for the treatment for the patient.
That's right.
It's a value-added service, and that's the other thing. You look at, for example, I was redoing my website, and web designer says, go look at these different websites and tell me if there's any design concept you kind of gravitate to. So I looked at different websites, and they say, they're all the same. They have a picture of the doctor and his family. We're very nice.
In a field somewhere, in some field, or on a fence.
Right. And everything is great. And if you're lucky, they might have something about, well, where did the doctor go to school? Where did he get his training?
Right.
What about his team? What does the team look like? What do they sound like? You look at this, there's nothing. They're all vanilla.
Yep.
And so why would I want to go to this office? Go to the next website. Why would I want to go to this office?
Same thing. Yep.
The answer is never there.
Nope.
There's no, okay, why should I go here?
Paul, I can't believe you're saying this because it's so funny. Here we are talking about technology, and people don't understand that is a piece of the technology.
Exactly.
Especially in today's world, right? The first thing they're doing is going up to your website to check you out. The second thing they're doing is going to Facebook to check you out. Right. And if you don't have a reason for them to do the three things that are like, they've been around forever when it comes to sales, getting people to actually want to buy from you, to get to know, like, and trust you.
Right.
I know, look, you have a website. I know you're a dentist, right? It says doctor on it, right? It says it on there, right? If you're not telling me something about you and about why I should trust you and how we connect, I want to know you before I walk into your office.
Exactly.
So, it's so
that's
true.
That's what I try to do on my website. Give people information. So awesome. Really try to give them the value proposition. I have a laser, I have a CEREC, I can do your crown in one visit. You don't need to come back 3 or 4 times. And so that's the concept I'm trying to, express the dentist. Dentists spend so much time taking CE. Okay, that's great. But what are you going to do with that CE?
Right.
You know?
Oh, a lot of them, it's a box they have to check off, right?
Right.
It's like, oh, well, I got to go do this. I'm going to do this. And they're there and they're on their computer half the time, not on Facebook, right? Not
Right.
actually paying attention, but they were there. They're physically present.
Yeah.
You said something that I'd like to touch on for just a moment, because I think it's interesting. You said that, that doctors will be like, well, can I charge more for this? I learned years ago from a mentor of mine who said, too often we are walking over the dollars to get to the dimes.
Right.
And that is that mentality of like,
Right.
well, can I charge a little more for this then because I paid for it and I want to
Right.
be able to justify that cost, as opposed to thinking, no. If you use it, you'll be better at it. You'll get more patients and you'll make more money
Right.
because you're that much better than the competition or anybody else. And you can utilize that technology to make more money, not just charge a little bit more money.
Right, exactly. Because with the case of lasers, you can now do procedures that you were originally or currently referring out to other offices to get done, because it's a lot easier to use the laser for a lot of these
100%.
soft tissue procedures, and you'd be more efficient with your time because you can treat multiple quadrants when you're doing restorative. So doesn't it make sense to use something that's going to allow you to do more treatment in your office rather than refer it out? And the patients love it because they very often don't need shots. They don't have any swelling. They don't have any pain after your procedure. Doesn't that make sense? Isn't that where the payback is?
Yep, absolutely.
It's the value proposition once again.
Yep, 100%. All right, well, Paul, you are obviously someone who's almost like a unicorn, right? It's like, dude, where did you come from on this? And so you go around and you teach this and you share this with people. You speak about it on stages, which is amazing. But let's talk about kind of some very specific areas that you think are missing that doctors should have in their practice. And by the way, I don't even know if you're aware of this, but in this podcast, it's called the Best Practice Podcast. We interview people from the chiropractic industry, from the dental industry, ortho. It doesn't matter what, as long as you're a practice owner. And I think from a lot of the stuff we talked about in the pre-show, everything you talk about is universal. It's not like, I know your world is dentistry, but there's no specifics to like, oh, that doesn't apply here. And the first thing you said to me really touched me, because I'm a big fan of this and I don't understand why it's not kind of pounded in people's head more, especially in school, is you have to have a vision.
Right.
Talk to me about that, because where did you come to the realization that, oh, I need to know where I'm going with this thing, as opposed to just, letting it happen to me?
Right. Well, you start off when you open a practice, you're so overwhelmed with stuff. You don't know what you don't know, number one. And so you get out of school, you don't have any business training. You don't know the first thing about strategic planning. What's that?
Yeah.
And so as I floundered around for the first 10, 15 years of my practice, you start taking some courses, you start reading more, you start saying, hey, where do I want to be? What kind of dentist do I want to be? Do I want to be a low fee, high volume practice? Do I want to be, a higher fee, lower volume practice? What's my vision? What do I see myself in the marketplace of dentistry? So that's the first thing. And so I started thinking about that. And that's why I reached a point where I needed to double the size of my practice. I needed to improve my physical facility. I did that. And then we talked about technology, and I say, I want to provide something different than what everybody else is. So I got into CEREC technology, digital x-rays. Each of these technologies, I said, this could give me a return on investment. It's going to make me more profitable. And so now I decided I want to be known in my area as the high-tech dentist. I want people to see this person is leading edge in dentistry. And so I built my practice around the whole concept of being a leading edge dentist. So then I got into lasers, and then orthodontics. And so the whole idea is now I'm building a plan. The plan is I want to develop my practice so that if I wanted to sell my practice tomorrow, I can sell it, make it a turnkey operation. My vision was being able to work until well into my 60s, be profitable, and have enough money at the end of the day so I can go off and do the things I enjoy.
But you said something that's interesting, though. You said you wanted to be able to sell it, and not just sell it. Like a lot of guys, well, I can sell my practice. You said you wanted to sell it and have it as a turnkey practice.
Correct.
to where the next guy coming in gets to walk in and it's all there.
Right. Exactly.
He can, with the modern technology, not with the stuff that was 10 years ago, which
Right.
you and I and everybody listening to this knows that this last 10 years has been insane with the evolution of technology and practices, right? From 3D printers to everything else. So you had the forethought beforehand of saying, hey, if I'm going to have the most modern practice, then that means that I'm going to have a practice that when I sell it, the next person, and boy, I would love to interview the guy who bought your practice, right? Walk in and just say, all right, we're good to go. Let's go. Keep it running.
That's it. Exactly what's happening. So his only new purchase has been cone beam. Because now when I sold the practice, that's the only thing you need to do, Doc. Get a cone beam, start doing implants, which he's starting to do. Wow. So I sold to somebody who had the same philosophy as I had, which is so incredibly important. But the great thing is I didn't have any trouble selling it. I sold it in 3 months.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, that's just it. It's interesting because I've talked to doctors before about this idea of the value of your practice isn't just the stuff you have inside the practice, right? I was talking to a practice purchaser, a guy who owns a company that buy practices, right? And I said, well, my specialty, my focus is all about culture and about creating the best team possible and creating that understanding in the marketplace of who you are, not what you do, right? And I said, tell me the difference between a practice that knows that, has their culture down, has a team that is off and running already, that doesn't have the challenges, not the gossiping, all that stuff, that's truly a team, not a staff.
Right.
Plus, versus a practice that, they're making good money.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, it's almost a 10 times multiple of what the difference is on, hey, if you're making $2 million, great, that's awesome. But if you're making $2 million and you have all that stuff, I'm going to sell your practice for way more.
Right.
And that's the same type of idea here, right? Is that you are actually built into the idea that if you want to buy a practice, find someone like Dr. Paul. You don't want to find somebody that's like, all right, I'm going to spend all this money and I got to spend more money to invest inside the practice.
Right.
But I want to ask you though about this idea of investing in your practice, because the truth of the matter is, it's a lot of guys who are just trying to get by with what they have because they don't want to put the expenses. And I'm going to be completely clear here. I am from the outside, right? I'm not a dentist orthodontist. I get to see, hey, why are you doing that? That doesn't make good for best practices wise.
Right.
I see guys who will not invest inside their practice, guys and gals. I want to make that clear. That will not invest inside their practice, but they're building a brand new home. They're buying the brand new Tesla. They are going on the coolest vacations, but they don't have the money to invest in their practice.
That doesn't make any sense at all. You have to look at what's going to give you return on investment. That's always been my mantra. What's the ROI? And live within your means, because when you live within your means, that whole stress is now reduced. I mean, after all, being involved with your business, that's enough stress.
Sure.
So why add the stress of I'm behind on my paying my bills because I'm living way beyond my means? Isn't it make sense to kind of try to manage your expenses and live within your means so that you can invest in your business so you make more money? Because at some point in time, you'll be able to go out and get that Tesla. You'll be able to get that new home. But all things have their place.
And you can pay for it cash, hopefully. And
exactly right. Exactly right.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, though, Paul, because you've seen this. You're in study clubs. You're out in the world. You're like, Paul, I worked really hard. I've gone to school. I have my degree. I deserve to buy the nice stuff.
Yeah, you deserve it. But, you already have a lot of debt already. You have to think like a business person.
Oh, wait. But no one taught me how to think like a business person in school. Right? In school, no one teaches. That's the problem, right?
That's the problem. Yeah, I worked hard too, but I live within my means because you know what? I want to open a practice. And how do you open a practice? You need money. You need to get a bank loan. And banks will give you some money, but you want to be able to open a practice because that's your living.
Yeah.
You need to open a practice or buy a practice or make enough money to pay off your loans and student loans and move on to the next level. I mean, this whole idea of instant gratification has to take a shelf, put that on the shelf for a while, Doc.
Right. Have this patience, right? It's interesting because we do that to our patients, right? We talk to the patients and we say, it's going to take some time. We need you to go and do this and come back in 2 months and do this and come back. Like, it's not, oh, I brushed my teeth once and therefore I don't have any cavities. It's continual practice. I do think it's one of the greatest challenges that's out there today is learning how to be a business owner is not taught in schools, and they have to learn it from someone else who typically learned it from someone else who might not know what they're doing either, who learned it from someone else who doesn't know. It's like this generational problem. When you put off the gratification for just a moment, you live within your means, what has been your reward?
Well, my reward has been a great family. I lived in very nice homes, just downsized into a condominium because my 2 daughters have now moved out of the house. They have their own careers. They're doing well. Good health, drive nice cars. You know, I have the Mercedes. I had a couple of Mercedes and, you know, nice cars, pretty much retired. And I wasn't depending on the sale of my practice for my retirement.
That's a big one.
And so many docs look at their practice as a retirement vehicle.
Oh yeah.
So
and let's play that through mentally, right? I love the mental game. I talk about elevating your life a lot, and if that's the vehicle for retirement, if that's the thing you're hoping for, when it's not doing well, when you have a 2008 through 2010 happen, boy, the stress levels skyrocket, right? Because you can't sit back and go like, well, at least I have this back here. Like this we can work on. You're not desperate, and desperation stinks. Right. Like people smell that all over you. So when you're trying to get them to, you know, convince them, hey, you know, you really need this crown, and oh, you need to do this root canal there, and you're desperate because you need them to do it. They smell it, and that's why they don't close.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's why I always had the attitude. I could give patients the options, and whatever way they decide is fine with me. They know what the options are. They live with their decision. You know, that's fine.
And well, that means to me that you've never also attached that decision to you personally, right? No. Like what that means about you. I talk to salespeople, my hygienist or my the TCs in the ortho world, that if somebody says no to you, it doesn't make your treatment any worse. No. Just like if somebody says yes to do, it doesn't make you any better. It just is a yes or a no.
Right.
So that's great. All right. So, man, I could talk to you forever about this. And, unfortunately, we only have a limited amount of time. Let me ask you a couple of questions that I think would really help out other people inside of this podcast or listening to this, because I want to pick your brain on a few things that I pretty much ask everybody. Number one is that what do you think is the most expensive thing practice owners are missing in their practice?
The most expensive thing that they're missing, I think the most expensive is vision. Yeah. Vision, you know, creating an action plan for success, how you define it. You know, Benjamin Franklin once said, lack of a plan is a plan for failure.
Sure.
And so you have to have some kind of plan. Now, you might have to change that plan over the course of time because things happen, things change. Mm-hmm. But knowing that, that plan is always fluid. And looking at your strengths and weaknesses as you go through your practice and say, what do I need to do to fix my weaknesses? Yeah. You know, what is it? Is it my team? Is somebody in my team underperforming? And that's the other great awakening I had is that, you know, I've always had, you know, job descriptions and policies and procedures in my office so that my team knew exactly what the expectations were. I mean, so many offices, they don't know what that is.
Oh, yeah.
And so the dentist gets upset with this team member because why isn't so-and-so not doing this? Well, doc, have you had a discussion with this person? Have you coached this person to become a better version of themselves?
Yeah.
And so that's really one of the big opportunities that's missed. You know, you just let the team run with it. Well, that's fine. I mean, but everybody needs direction. Everybody needs a vision as far as.
And as a leader, that's your job, right? Like you're as
Exactly.
a leader, if you've chosen to take on this thing called business ownership and to hire people to literally wake up every single day to make your dream come true,
Right.
then you've got to lead them to where you want them to go. And you cannot expect them to say, oh, I just expect them to show up and do their job. Well, but what exactly is that? I do a survey before I come out to practices with the team. It's a blind survey. And I ask that question all the time. Do you know exactly what's expected of you, what your roles and responsibilities are? And I get people all the time being like, well, I think I do, but it's obviously not clear, right?
Right.
So,
Right. So it
all
has
right.
to be, it has to be written. Something has to be written for that
Yep.
to happen. You know?
Absolutely. Written and you said talked about a lot. Like not one time,
Right.
not when they first got hired because they weren't even thinking of you because their emotions were so high. Oh my gosh, I got hired, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a constant conversation that has to keep going.
Exactly.
So I'm a huge book fan. I love books. I love listening to books because I'm dyslexic. I like to listen to books more than anything. I'm very, very auditory. What's a book that you feel every practice owner should read?
Well, one of the books is Everything is Marketing by Fred Joyle.
Oh, that's a great book. No one's mentioned that book. Good job.
Well, I mean, that's a book I read, and I know Fred and his role in 1-800-DENTIST. But look at that book. I recommend that for any practice owner. It's
Nice.
so illustrative of what you need to do to be successful in practice.
Love
It starts not only with, the obvious, but how does your office look, smell, and feel? I tell docs, won't you walk in your office, the front door, and sit in your reception room for 10 minutes and look around, and what do you see? Ask yourself, is this a place I would come to have work done?
I have a dentist. I have a dentist who I once asked him that question. I was like, "What's the most important thing to you?" And he said, "Every place I go, I walk into the bathroom. In my office, the most important area of my business is my bathroom." And it kind of threw me. I was like, "That's interesting." He goes, "Because if the bathroom doesn't look good, these moms walk in there and think, this guy's putting his fingers in my mouth. If they can't clean a bathroom, how's he going to do in my mouth?"
It's funny you say that because that's how I judge a restaurant, matter of fact.
Oh, nice.
You walk into the bathroom, and if it looks like it's a real pit,
Yep.
you say, maybe I don't want to eat dinner here because, those are one of the last areas that get cleaned.
It's true. I tell doctors all the time. So I worked for Disneyland years ago, and it ruined me. It ruined my eyes because I look at everything. I see the overflowing trash can. I see, like, does it match? Is the message they're trying to send also what they're doing inside their practice? So you're right. Just sit there and really think. If I was a mom, what would I think when I walked in there? If I was a dad, yeah. Well, obviously, I'm a book lover. In my book, The Practice RX, I focus a lot on team culture. I talked about that earlier before, and team performance as the foundation of growing your business. Matter of fact, I have zero desire in improving employees and making them better employees. I want to make them better human beings and elevate their life. So they'll bring that to the practice, right? So what do you see is the biggest challenge that private practice owners are facing when it comes to their office culture?
Communications.
Oh, good.
Communication is so incredibly important. As I mentioned earlier, does everybody know what your expectations are?
Yeah.
Sitting down and say, look, this is what I want you to do. This is your job description. This is what I want you to do. And also have the discussion about, we're a team. I never wanted to hear anyone say to me, well, that's not my job.
Right.
I hate when someone says, that's not my job. What do you mean it's not your job? We're all a team. Mm-hmm. I'll pick up that piece of paper off the floor as well as anybody else.
That's right.
That's the other issue about leadership is that, because I'm the dentist, I'm not here. I'm here as part of the team.
Yep.
I'll do whatever I have to do. If I see a barrel that has to get taken care of, I'll take care if I have to, if it isn't taken care of. But, it's that kind of idea is that you're willing to pitch in to do your part as a team leader. I mean, I'm not a big sports fan, but, you look at Tom Brady. I mean, he's part of the team.
Yeah.
He works with the team to get to the Super Bowl. And it's the same concept in your office.
Wait, how can you be from where you are and not be a sports fan? I don't understand
I
that.
don't know. I'm a casual sports fan.
I'm from California. I'm from California, so it's okay that I'm not a sports fan. You, I don't know. I think that I hope your
Maybe,
neighbors don't know this about you.
maybe I'm on overload. I don't know. Too many championship teams in Boston. I can't keep track of everybody.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. Teams win or lose together, right?
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how, we got to win that game. And it's
That's
not
it.
my job. It's how can I make that my job? How can I help you with your job, right? It's
Exactly.
a huge difference.
And that's one of the big concepts I try to instill with the team I had was, we're here to help each other out. No one leaves early.
What?
No one leaves early.
Wait a minute. What? But I have my kids to go pick up. But I have I don't want to hit traffic, but
I don't hear that kind of conversation, Dino.
I love it. I love that you don't, because I hear it all the time, and I'm going like, let's go to your Tom Brady example, right? Even if the guy isn't even a name on the team, he doesn't get to be like, well, I'm not being used, so I'm just going to leave 15 minutes early from the game.
Yeah. Well,
Like that's not a team player.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting.
No one leaves until they check in with everybody to make sure everything is done for the day.
We're done. Wow.
Okay? We're done for the day.
Paul, I'm telling you, we could have a conversation forever. This is great. I love your wisdom and your knowledge. First of all, I just honor and respect the fact that you really wanted to share the information that you have, and you saw the value in the mentorship that you can have in either speaking on stages and going through, even as a part of the Dental Speakers Institute, right? And being able to share that knowledge there with those people who are trying to help other practice owners and dentist professionals. How can people get a hold of you? Like, what's the easiest way for people?
Email Paul at
Okay.
drpaulcaselle.com. Easiest way.
And it's CASEE.
No, CASELLE.
There you go, 2 L's. Okay. All right. I want to make sure everybody gets that in there. All right. So I know this is a hard question, but just first thing that pops to your head. What's the best advice you've ever received in your life or business?
Never stop growing as a person. Always be challenging yourself to go to the next level. For so many years you kind of held back. You weren't sure, but you reach a point in your career, say, you know what? I can do it. Let's just move to the next level. Whether that's CEREC, whether that's lasers, whether that's orthodontics. You listen to what your patients want and need and fill that need. But never stop growing. Always keep an open mind to go to the next level, whatever that level will be.
It makes 100% sense that that's your mindset, right? With the technology idea we're talking about earlier about investing in your practice, being willing to forego some of the instant gratification so that you can give the best service through that. It totally makes sense that would be advice that you've lived by.
Yeah.
What's the best resource or tool that you believe every private practice owner should have to grow their business?
The best resource is to have your meetings with your team and review your strengths, your weaknesses, what opportunities you can have for growth within your practice. Tapping into what your team can bring to you. Basically, I want my team to talk to our patients. I want to get feedback. What is the patient saying when I leave the room? And we do that every day at our team meeting. We have a morning meeting. We go over the schedule and so forth. And that's something I didn't do when I first started out. Morning huddles. What was that?
Yeah. Right.
So you learn.
Evolution of a practice. Yep.
Exactly. You say, we really should have team meetings. So I have my team come in about a half hour before the first patient comes in. They get set up, we're all set to go. 10 minutes before the patient comes in, we go through the schedule and plan our day. It's like, when you have a huddle, when Tom Brady has the huddle, he's not talking about where we're going for dinner tonight. He's talking about the play coming up and what do we have to do and watch for this guy coming in. And so we have to have the same concept as we map a day for success. We map the day for success. So that's why I say have your team meetings and meet with your advisors as needed to get ideas about what do I need to do to grow my practice. And I think that's the biggest important tool because, you're managing people, both patients and your team, and you have to be engaged with that to be successful.
I love that advice because people don't realize oftentimes you have docs who are looking out for the help and the advice, right? It's like, oh, someone else has the answer to this. But within your team, whether you have 8 people on your team or whether you have 80 people on your team, those are multiple eyeballs that are seeing things you're not seeing.
Right.
But unfortunately, I don't think there's enough of a practice of actually asking for what they think and their thoughts and letting them know it's okay to be wrong.
Right.
I just want to know what your thoughts are, because then they feel valuable. The more valuable they feel and the more value they're giving, the more they're going to want to stay and be a part of the practice and help it grow.
Right.
So it's so important. That's a great piece of advice.
They feel invested into your success, and I constantly would ask, what do you think? What do you think we should do? Because I'm kind of person who wants to get feedback, opposing views. And if you had a vote in my office, it'd always be 2 one way, 2 the other way. I'd be the deciding vote. But anyways, at least
I'm telling you, you're a unicorn, dude.
I know, I am.
You're a unicorn. There's so many guys out there who's like, I don't want to hear anybody else's opinion. Right? It's like, what's that saying? If I want your opinion, I'll give it to you. It's like, that's what I think a lot of people, and hopefully that's changing a lot, right? Hopefully, I do like to have a more positive outlook on the future and stuff like that. I think that we have to look at what is, but also see where it's shifting. And I think there's this big tide of shift right now because of doctors like you that are willing to say, hey guys, I've gone through it, I'm done, but I want to show you some areas where you don't have to go down those rabbit holes that I did, that you can avoid those mistakes that I did. Just put these things in place. It's going to make things easier. And you have the ability for people to trust you. You think outside the box. You have a great head on your shoulders, and it's all about just improving the industry in general. That's a huge gift that you're giving. So I just want to thank you on behalf of so many people that I know are looking for that right now.
Yeah. Well, I certainly hope to contribute to a better understanding of what you need to do to be successful in practice. And
that's awesome.
Not always about money, but it's being happy with what you're doing.
That's right.
And then creating that environment where you can be happy. And the last thing you want to be is in an office where, you have gossip, and you have, people in the office, butting heads. Yeah. That's something that has to be that head on. We're all here to do one thing.
I just wrote the back cover of my next book, right? And I tell this story a lot on stage, but it's basically the idea of, man, if you're walking into your practice and you see Sally, right? And Sally says, "Oh, good morning, doctor." And you say, "Oh, good morning, Sally." But in your head, you go, "Man, I wish you'd quit." You are not in the right practice, right? You are not in the right frame. You haven't hired the right people. You haven't created the right team. You're not being the best leader you possibly can. Right. Well, Paul, I want to thank you so much for being a part of our show today and giving amazing knowledge and nuggets. And I truly hope that anybody that's listening to this, that they're inspired by their future, their possibility, that from what you were able to share with them, that you inspired them to create a better vision for their life, for their practice, to be able to really look at technology as a tool that's going to help them get ahead, to be able to invest in themselves, to delay some of that gratification. It's okay. It will come. There's always an after. So delay that, and actually, and the nuggets of wisdom and knowledge you gave were just amazing. So thank you so much for being a part of this.
So happy to be here.
Thanks so much again for listening to the Propreneur Podcast. We really appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you do so. Also, if you feel like you might be a good fit for our podcast as a guest, or know somebody who you think would be, go ahead and email us at dino@dinowatt.com. Again, thanks for support. We'll see you on the next episode.